Hello and welcome back to my channel. So this is another little one of my late night readings. So dim lighting, mood lighting is what I'm calling it. And it's going to be a bit of a different one today because I suddenly got the urge to dissect something. So we're going to use the tarot and dissect it together. And so today's reading is all about what happens when you speak up for your needs, okay? So I did a thing today where I spoke up for what I need in a situation. And after I did it, it wasn't such a big deal, really. In the moment, it didn't feel like such a big deal. But after I'd done it, the relief that I felt was really intense. And it dawned on me that the way in which I did it is not something I would usually do. It was very assertive, but open and vulnerable and communicative. And it really gave me the feeling of, wow, okay, this is really a new thing I've done here. I've approached life in a very different way than I would normally. And I don't know, it just kind of helped me to see how much I'd grown, right? So this reading today is for all of you who may find it a little bit hard to speak up for your needs and who may need reassurance that doing so is always going to lead to better things. It's like it does something to your brain, right? It's like knowing that you can look out for yourself. It does something in your system, in your internal system, that I think is very special. And I feel like all of us on some level know that, but it's still quite a hard thing to actually do. Okay, especially as women, right? But not necessarily. I just think back to the days when I was at a girls' school and then I went to university and I realised that boys, men approach things very differently. I think as women, sometimes we are conditioned to not speak up for our needs quite so much, not to be so assertive, right? So let's pull some cards about what we can expect when we speak up for our needs, okay? What can we expect when we find the courage to speak up for our own needs? What can we expect when we find the courage to speak up for our own needs? Okay, fascinating first three cards. We have the Knight of Wands, the Hermit card, and the Seven of Wands. So this Knight of Wands is that courageous energy. This Knight of Wands is, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go in a new direction. I'm going to go for it. And this is the speaking up, right? But the Knight of Wands is also sometimes seen as quite impulsive. And so this message is telling us that though we may feel as though we might be being impulsive by speaking up for what we need, that actually no, right? Actually that communication has come because of a long period of wisdom and self-reflection, okay? So as I was saying, I spoke up for my needs today in a way that I've never done before. It may have seemed sudden, but in actuality, this is something I've been preparing for a very, very, very long time. My life experiences up to this point have made it so that it now feels much more natural for me to say what I need. There's a wisdom that comes with age, I think, and I think that's part of it. But there's also wisdom that comes with experience. So the Hermit is here to remind us that when you get to this point of feeling like you're ready to speak up for your needs, right? When you're at this point where you may be wanting some extra courage, remember that you're not the same person you were before. You are wiser, you are stronger, you are more experienced. And you need to trust yourself when it comes to the things that you need to voice, the things that you need to express. And this is all about our boundaries, okay? Because basically speaking up for your needs is asserting your boundaries. It's saying what you need, what you can't do, what you will do, what you won't do. Okay, and this doesn't have to be aggressive in the slightest. This is literally just putting like a demarcation around your life and how you expect it to be, right? So that's what speaking up for your needs does for you. It helps you to maintain lines in which people know and understand that they shouldn't cross, Okay? Lines, not just to show other people where they shouldn't cross, but lines to show you where you are comfortable and prepared to go and where you are not. Okay? So what else do we need to see about what we can expect when we speak up for our needs? We can expect when we speak up for our needs. Okay. I have a obsession with making sure everything lines up. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So the second line, we have the Six of Cups, the Page of Cups, and the Six of Swords. Beautiful. So the Six of Cups comes in to remind us that we will often be met with much more softness than we expect. We may envisage in our mind that, okay, if I speak up for my needs, say this is what I need, this is what I want, this is what I'm not prepared to do, yada, 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 that people will meet you with like aggression and say, no, you've got to do what I want to do. But in reality, I think people really appreciate when you say what you need, because it makes everything much clearer. People then know how they can meet your needs, right? People then understand you a lot better if they perhaps have been struggling to understand, because sometimes when our needs are not met, right, and we're not able to speak out about this, that resentment will show up in other ways, and it can sometimes show up in a walling off between us and others, right? A walling off is very different to that clear lines of demarcation that I spoke about here, okay? So in speaking about what it is that you need, there is a vulnerability there, a willingness to trust the other person with your expectations. And that's what we see in this card, right? That willingness is definitely going to be appreciated by the other person, and it can make the bond, the relationship, the situation even stronger. And so we have the Page of Cups here, which I feel is that first step, right, towards speaking. But it's speaking with that vulnerability, as I've said, speaking with an open heart, but also being willing to receive help. So the thing that I communicated my needs about today was the thing about asking for help in this, essentially. It was asking for a bit of support, right? And in asking for support, you've also got to be willing to accept that support. Yeah? And that's what the Page of Cups is here to tell us, that when you begin to speak up for your needs, expect that they will be met in more ways than one. And the challenge can sometimes be to accept that, especially if we're not used to that. If we're not used to our needs being met, if we secretly believe that our needs won't be met, it can be quite hard to accept it. So this reading is reminding you to accept it. And then we have this gorgeous card here, which I've been seeing a lot lately, the Six of Swords. And this reminds us that we can then move forward to a calmer place. So it may feel a bit turbulent in that moment when you're thinking, right, I need to speak up and say something. But once there is some cooperation happening, once some balance is taking place, you'll move into a much smoother place. So I've been thinking a lot about sixes lately, about how sixes in the tarot are all about balance and harmony. So it's very interesting how we have two sixes here. We have the Six of Cups and we have the Six of Swords. So speaking up for our needs really does lead to more balance and harmony and cooperation than we may initially think. I'm just going to pull 3 more cards here for what happens when we speak up about what we need. Okay. So we have the Five of Cups in reverse, the Moon card, and the Eight of Swords. So there's liberation when we speak up for what we need, okay? The Eight of Swords here, she's trapped, right? But this is often seen as a card of somebody being trapped like in a prison of their own making, okay? This isn't a real trapped. The swords represent thoughts. This is somebody being trapped by their thoughts, okay? And that can often be the most paralyzing thing, right? I'm not by any means kind of making that out to be a lesser pain than it is. But when we learn to speak up for our needs, we are able to break free of those bonds and we are able to experience liberation, right? Liberation from the unknown, because if we allow ourselves to be like a passenger in other people's lives without being the driver of our own lives, then there's often things that we don't know. And yeah, we live with a certain amount of uncertainty in this world, and that's completely natural. But there are some things that we have the right to know. There are some things that we can know. There are some things that simply by taking charge of our lives, we will know. And that's what this card is speaking of. It's also asking us to tap into our intuition about what our needs actually are, because sometimes it can be hard to actually connect to what we need if we're not used to having those met, right? So use your intuition to really plug into what it is that you need. And then we have the Five of Cups in reverse. And what I'm really drawn to here is this rising sun, which you can see like in the background here. Don't expect the situation to go the way it's always gone in the past. So don't expect you to ask for what you need and for the person to dismiss it in a way that a person may have dismissed it in the past, right? We are on a new frequency. You're in a new place. You've gained wisdom and experience. This is just the next step in your evolution, okay? Asking for what you need makes sense now. You're a new person. And a new person, like you, asks for what they need. I'm just going to pull one more card from the Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light Oracle to draw this all together. And we have birthing a new age. Isn't that something? That's kind of exactly what I was saying then about how you're a new person, right? And the next step in the growth of who you are is to become more assertive, is to ask for what you need, okay? Birthing a new age, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. So don't be afraid to be that new person. Don't be afraid to grow into that person who is able to say what she wants, able to say what he wants, able to say what you need. Okay, go for it, right? Have the courage to know that once you do, you will be experiencing liberation, calmer, more peaceful times, and putting your wisdom into action. Okay? And helping yourself to develop into who you're supposed to be. Right. I'm going to go. I hope you enjoyed that. Take care. Bye.